All right, I need you to just picture this. It's February 14th, 2024, and the air in Kansas City, Missouri is absolutely electric. This isn't just any day. It's the day the city erupts in a sea of red, celebrating their beloved Chiefs, fresh off another Super Bowl victory. For weeks, the city had buzzed with anticipation, and now it was time for the victory parade. A triumphant march culminating in a massive rally at Union Station. Thousands upon thousands of fans poured into the streets. Families pushed strollers, friends huddled together, and children sat perched on shoulders, all draped in red jerseys, hats, and scarves. The atmosphere was pure euphoria, a collective outpouring of joy and civic pride. Music blared from speakers, laughter mingled with the roar of the crowd, and the constant pop of confetti cannons added to the festive chaos. Everywhere you looked, there were smiles, high fives, and the shared excitement of a community united in triumph. The parade route was a vibrant river of humanity, flowing towards the iconic Union Station, where the team would address their adoring fans. From grandmothers to toddlers, everyone felt safe, exhilarated, and part of something special. This was Kansas City at its best, vibrant, proud, and completely absorbed in a moment of pure celebration. The sheer density of the crowd, the joyous noise, the collective sense of belonging, all contributed to an overwhelming feeling of security. Who could possibly envision anything but triumph on a day like this? But beneath the surface of this joyous spectacle, an unseen, strange, dark, and mysterious evil was lurking, ready to shatter the euphoria. The innocent sounds of celebration were about to be abruptly, violently, replaced by the terrifying cacophony of chaos and fear. The highest point of community celebration was about to descend into a nightmare, proving that even in moments of pure triumph, danger can hide in plain sight, ready to turn joy into utter carnage. The roar of the crowd, the blast of confetti, the ecstatic cheers for the Chiefs players, it was all building to a crescendo at Union Station. Then abruptly, cutting through the celebratory noise, came a sound that instantly froze hearts. Gunshots. For a terrifying, fleeting moment, confusion reigned. Was that fireworks? A car backfiring? The human mind, wired for safety, struggled to reconcile such a violent sound with a scene of pure joy. But then, the popping noises continued, closer and more insistent, accompanied by the chilling screams of sheer terror. The horrifying realization dawned on thousands simultaneously. This was not a celebration. This was an attack. Pure chaos erupted. The vibrant Red Sea of fans instantly transformed into a panicked, surging mass. People scattered in every conceivable direction, a desperate, every man for himself scramble for survival. Children, moments ago hoisted on shoulders to see their heroes, were now desperately clutched by parents, or worse, tragically separated in the stampede. The air filled with the deafening symphony of fear, screams, cries for help, the thud of bodies falling, and the relentless, terrifying sound of gunfire. Amidst the terror, humanity also showed its resilience. There were immediate acts of heroism. Civilians, without a second thought, instinctively shielded children with their own bodies. Off-duty police officers, quick-thinking veterans, and brave citizens, hearing the shots, ran towards the danger, trying to locate the source of the gunfire or aid the fallen. Emergency services, already on high alert for the massive crowd, rapidly converged on the scene, their sirens now screaming a different kind of urgency. Police officers, initially providing security for the parade, transitioned instantly into active shooter protocols. They moved swiftly, attempting to locate the shooter and contain the escalating panic. The celebratory music was drowned out by the urgent shouts of law enforcement, the cries of the wounded, and the collective gasp of a city grappling with an unthinkable reality. Within moments, a triumphant Super Bowl celebration had been violently transformed into a scene of carnage and profound violation. Victims lay injured, some fatally, their joy stolen in an instant. The Kansas City Chiefs parade, meant to be a memory of glory, was now etched into history as a day of shocking terror, leaving behind not just physical wounds, but an entire city in profound shock, struggling to comprehend the strange, dark, and mysterious evil that had so abruptly shattered their moment of triumph. As the last echoes of gunfire faded, a horrific silence fell over what had just moments before been a scene of pure jubilation. The immediate, devastating toll of the violence began to reveal itself. Amidst the scattered confetti and abandoned parade souvenirs lay the injured and the fallen. The most tragic loss was Lisa Lopez Galvin, a beloved local DJ, a vibrant voice on the airwaves, and a passionate Chiefs fan. Lisa was attending the parade with her family when a bullet senselessly ended her life. Her death sent a profound wave of grief through Kansas City, a heartbreaking reminder that the abstract concept of mass violence had a very real, very human face. She wasn't just a statistic. She was a mother, a wife, a friend, and a cherished member of her community whose life was stolen in an instant of inexplicable chaos. Beyond the fatality, the number of injured was staggering. Dozens of people suffered gunshot wounds, some severe, requiring immediate, life-saving medical intervention. But the physical injuries weren't limited to bullets. In the terrifying stampede to escape the gunfire, countless others were hurt, suffering broken bones, concussions, and lacerations from being trampled or falling in the desperate crush of the crowd. Even more heartbreaking, many of the injured were children, some as young as 8 years old, their innocence shattered by the violence they witnessed and experienced. Local hospitals were immediately overwhelmed, transforming into frantic mass casualty zones. Doctors, nurses, and medical staff worked tirelessly, triaging patients, performing emergency surgeries, and trying to save lives. The sheer volume and nature of the injuries tested their limits, showcasing both the incredible capacity for care and the brutal reality of what a single chaotic event could inflict. But beyond the visible wounds, a deeper, more insidious trauma settled upon the city. Thousands of witnesses and survivors who escaped physical harm were left with invisible scars. The vivid nightmares, the crippling anxiety in crowded public spaces, the sudden fear triggered by loud noises. These were the lasting psychological injuries that would take months, even years, to heal. The celebratory spirit of Kansas City had been violently assaulted, and the collective sense of safety irrevocably shaken. The Super Bowl parade, meant to be a moment of shared triumph and pure joy, became a defining moment of horror. It was a stark, strange, dark, and mysterious testament to how quickly peace can be shattered, and how deeply an act of seemingly random violence can wound not just individuals, but an entire city. In the immediate aftermath of the chaos, as the injured were rushed to hospitals and the grieving process began, law enforcement's priority was clear: identify and apprehend those responsible. The rapid response of police at the parade, already on site for security, proved crucial. Within minutes, individuals were detained, and the frantic search for shooters began to narrow. The first arrests quickly followed, and what emerged was a shocking and profoundly unsettling revelation. This wasn't a coordinated act of terrorism, nor was it a political statement. Instead, the initial investigation pointed to a seemingly trivial dispute between several individuals or groups that had spiraled catastrophically out of control. It appeared to be a senseless argument, escalating into gunfire in the midst of tens of thousands of unsuspecting celebrants. The profound disconnect between a petty squabble and the resulting mass casualty event was baffling, leaving many to wonder, how could something so small lead to so much destruction? Adding another layer of disturbing complexity was the involvement of minors among the alleged perpetrators. The fact that young individuals, some reportedly teenagers, were involved in such a violent act and had access to firearms immediately ignited fierce debates across the nation. It raised agonizing questions about youth violence, the availability of guns, and the seemingly casual nature with which some individuals resorted to deadly force. Authorities confirmed that multiple firearms were recovered from the scene, some high-powered, further fueling the national discussion about gun control and public safety at large gatherings. The legal process quickly began, with charges filed against several individuals, including both adults and juveniles, for murder, armed criminal action, and unlawful use of a weapon. Court appearances commenced, initiating the slow, often painful path towards accountability. However, even with arrests made, the core why of the Kansas City parade shooting remained deeply unsettling. The seemingly random, disproportionate nature of the violence in response to a minor dispute left a profound sense of bewilderment. It highlighted a strange, dark, and mysterious capacity for immediate, extreme violence in seemingly everyday situations, transforming a moment of collective joy into an inexplicable and tragic act of carnage. As the initial shock of the parade shooting subsided, Kansas City was left to grapple with the profound aftermath of a celebration brutally transformed into a nightmare. The incident immediately reignited a fierce national debate about gun violence in America. The very public nature of the tragedy, occurring at a beloved community event, amplified calls for stricter gun control measures, while also fueling arguments about the right to bear arms and the complexities of preventing such random acts of violence. The Chiefs' Super Bowl victory, a moment of shared triumph, became inextricably linked with a far darker, more contentious conversation. Beyond the legislative debates, the shooting cast an intense spotlight on public event security. How do you protect tens of thousands of people gathered in open spaces? Organizers and law enforcement agencies across the country began to reevaluate their protocols, considering everything from enhanced screening measures to increased police presence and improved crowd control strategies. The Kansas City parade became a somber case study, forcing a reassessment of what it means to safely gather in a modern world increasingly susceptible to sudden, unpredictable violence. Despite the fear and the ongoing debates, the spirit of Kansas City shone through in the aftermath. The community rallied, demonstrating remarkable resilience and a determination to heal. Memorials sprang up, filled with flowers, candles, and Chiefs memorabilia, honoring Lisa Lopez Galvan and offering solace to the injured. Fundraisers were quickly organized to support victims and their families, showcasing the profound empathy and unity of the city in the face of tragedy. Kansas City refused to be defined by the violence, instead choosing to focus on rebuilding and supporting those who suffered. Meanwhile, the path to justice and accountability for the perpetrators began its slow, arduous journey through the legal system. With multiple individuals, including juveniles, facing serious charges, the court proceedings promised to be long and emotionally taxing. For the victims and their families, it's a critical step towards finding some semblance of closure, even as the ultimate why of such a senseless act remains frustratingly elusive. The Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade will forever be remembered as a day of both immense joy and profound horror. The scars of that afternoon, both visible and invisible, will undoubtedly remain. It stands as a chilling, strange, dark, and mysterious reminder of how quickly peace can shatter, how deeply violence can wound a community, and the ongoing struggle to balance freedom with safety in a world where celebration can, in an instant, turn to carnage.